I'm going to talk about brainwashing and how the narcissist uses that to keep you deluded into their world, into their mask, and also brainwashing using your weaknesses and to keep you confused and in this world. And the way this worked for me was using my weaknesses coming out of my previous marriage, my wounds from that marriage, and also his narrative and his mask of the image that he wanted to portray. So, my weakness that I had coming out of my marriage was my ex husband had cheated on me. So, my weakness was that I did not want to be cheated on again. And his mask and his narrative that he ran on was that he wore the mask of good guy, family man, victim of two previous wives that had cheated on him, and that he was a good Christian family man who'd been hurt and wounded by two cheating wives. So this was just, like the perfect man for me because, I was going to be safe with this man because he had been cheated on. So, of course, this would be a kind of guy that wasn't going to cheat on me because he had been so wounded by these horrible cheating women, and he's a Christian man and he's a family man, and I had um, three children, and he had, at the time, he had his 17-year-old son living with him and a 6-year-old daughter living with him. um, so he was just this family guy. So that was his narrative. So it perfectly fell into, what he was going to keep me safe. And so that's what I was looking for, was safety. And so that's the narrative that was going to keep me safe. Well, right away, this fell apart in a way pretty quick, but I still didn't see it that way, because the first lie that came about had to do with finances. So I still didn't feel like I was in danger from that because, it was upsetting and unsettling, but it had nothing to do with infidelity. So I didn't feel in danger in that way. But if we fast forward um, to very, very many years, fast forward, eventually, I'm trying to think of how many years, sorry. Eventually, there was internet infidelity after we had separated, which I do not want to get into the details of how the separation came about. I will get into those details eventually, but we were living in separate homes, but we were still trying to reconcile the marriage as far as I knew. And I still, at the time, just blindly and faithfully trusted, because of this narrative that he was still giving constantly, that I'm a family man, I'm a family man. Although he had already given me lots of clues throughout the marriage that he wasn't really that much of a family man, because he was a workaholic. So half the time, I mean, not half the time, most of the time, he was not participating in any of the parenting activities because he was a workaholic. We did a lot of family therapy, and all of the parenting difficulties that we were having, he conveniently blamed them all on me in therapy because he wasn't participating in them because he was too busy working. And of course, he said he had to do all the working to do all the providing because of the financial constraints. Yet most of those financial constraints were caused by him because he had a spending problem too. But anyway, what ended up happening was I was still blindly trusting that he meant that he was not going to be a cheater, was not a cheater, and I was not the type to spy and be suspicious or anything. But it did end up that in 2015 I discovered that he did an online affair and sent this woman money. It was like some kind of an Asian dating site. And then when I found that out, I also discovered that the prior year he had been on Plenty of Fish also. So it really wasn't the first time, so he had done it twice. But then we still tried to reconcile again. So there were very many Hoovers in there. So breakups, try to get back together, Hoover, go to marriage seminars, meet privately with counseling, like spending $2,000 to meet privately with this expert guru that has been on Oprah Winfrey. That's this expert we met in Maryland. You know, just we did it all. And anyway, so even in the final Hoover, he had yet another online girlfriend before the final discard and divorce, which I believe both of these online girlfriends ended up being, what do you call them, catfish. But anyway, because they were both through Facebook. And the funny thing is that I found out later, because he basically told me that he was concocting a story that only a year into our marriage, and we were married for 17 years, he was concocting a story that when we were only married a year, that I was having an affair with my best friend's husband. And in this affair story, that my best friend's husband told him that I was having an affair while he was sitting in a parking lot in his red truck. And I said, "Red truck? You never had a red truck." Well, it ends up he once did have a red truck, but that was when he was married to his second wife. So this supposed affair I had, this lie about this affair that I had, he got the vehicle wrong. So I am assuming now that we are divorced, that as he is trying to meet women to supply his fourth wife, because that is his goal, is to supply a fourth wife. And from what my stepdaughter tells me he will be going to the Ukraine next month to try to supply a mail order bride. That his story is most likely that all three of his wives were cheaters. So that is how they brainwash you, and it's all based on their false narrative, lies. And that's the problem with believing the lie of a narcissist, and you falsely believing that you are safe with them when you are not. And you know, when he told me his first lie about the bankruptcy when we were first married, when I found out about the first lie, then I should have known that I wasn't safe with anything, and I don't know why I kept believing that I was safe with him. So anyway, thank you for stopping by, and please subscribe to